Hey, what's up? In this video, we're going to continue with our beat making. We're going to stick to my template, just because by now you should be a little bit more comfortable with the UI. This is my template, and you really should create your own once you get comfortable with things you use all the time, which is EQ8 and a compressor on each channel and color code everything. And if you have anything kind of neat, just attach it in, like machine or anything you have. So what we're gonna do is I'm just going to get a kick and drop it in. And one thing I should mention now is Ableton automatically prevents clicking, so it'll like kind of roll off. It'll fade in your sample, so you right click on the sample, show fades, and right there it rolled off. This is a volume kind of automation, but it's within the clip, and it prevents like a vocal hit from, or any kind of anything from clicking, say like a vocal that you cut in, and it starts playing like in the middle of its waveform, it'll click, which sucks. So it kind of automatically protects it from that. There's an option to disable it, but you really shouldn't disable it. You should keep it enabled, but for your kicks, you want the click. So you just move that over. And yeah, that's not much of a difference. There. That's automatically, right? Move that over. Right, and then now you have your click of your kick. So, where's that kick I had? Okay, we have a kick here. Super fun, happy times. So we have a kick here. We'll delete that. We will stretch it out. Control D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 3 times, so we have 4. We loop, and then there we have our loop, and we'll set it to 125, and then I'll set this to 9. So right, so we have our kick now. So what we're going to do, you're going to drop in an EQ8, and then what you're going to do is this will take you years to master, and maybe I'll have it mastered by the time I'm 40. I'm no exception. I don't think anyone's the exception, unless you're like 70 years old and you've been using the same EQ your whole life. But what I want you to do is experiment with what doing this does. It'll kind of boost the volume and the frequency that you kind of select. So what we'll do is we'll play the kick, and I'll show you kind of what it does. Right, so this is a bell curve, and what you can do is you can raise it to boost the high frequencies in your kick, and you can raise this one to boost the low end, and you can get some muddy effects. Right, so you got clipping going on there, or kind of soft clipping, and it didn't sound too great. And as you like go on, you'll kind of slowly get what the EQ is doing. Basically, you have each of these numbers is a pole. You click on it, so it's highlighted, and then you have frequency, and you can drag it around, and then you can adjust the curve, so you can make it like really resonant or just massive, right? And that's basically what an EQ does. It solves the frequency conflict. So say, if I have a kick here, the exact same one, right? We got some like fuzziness going on, and if you have a bass there, there's no exception. So what I'll do is I'll add a bass line. There. I'll add this. Baby steps. So if you have like a bass line, or you programmed one in with your keyboard and you're going crazy, kick is disappearing. So what we're going to introduce is something called sidechain compression. Sidechain compression. That's the one word I can't say. I could say aluminum, I can say aluminium, I can say everything, but it's like the ultimate tongue twister. She sells seashells by the seashore. Let's just see if I'm actually recording. Yes, I am. Okay, so you have your kick and your bass, and they're not sitting in harmony. And this is an introduction to solving frequency conflict. So, two ways to solve frequency conflict. Frequency conflict is when two sounds involving the same kind of spectrum. Right here, see this? It's a spectrum overlay. Right, is the same with the kick. They're kind of in the same spectrum, and there's a way you can do it. You can EQ that out. So now you have the bass and the kick well together, but you lost the bass of the bass. You want that. So what you can do is something called sidechain compression. There, I said it. Sidechain compression, and that's with a compressor, and you click on this little tiny arrow here, and then you select sidechain. Now this is like you're beginning to routing, and routing in Ableton is not that intimidating. It's basically just sending audio from one channel to the other. The compressor can basically, I'm gonna kind of briefly explain what a compressor does with an example of the kick. So say you have your kick here, and what this is the volume, right? I'll turn that off. This is the volume, and what this is the threshold, and this meter is the volume of the kick unaffected. So it's basically any kind of meter on a DJ mixer. So say, for example, if you had a little helper in your studio, and he had his finger on the volume button of the kick on the console, right? And every time the kick got loud, he turned the volume down. That's basically what a compressor is doing. It's automatic volume reduction once it gets over a certain part. And you'll hear that when you bring the threshold down. The threshold is the amount. The threshold is the marker kind of thing. So right now it's at 0, unaffected. We bring it down. So right now this gain reduction is how far they're turning the volume down, right? Your little studio helper, right? So don't worry about the ratio yet. We have attack and release. Okay, we'll see it here. This, if you go to this option here, this one, same thing. This marker is the threshold, and you can see the threshold right there. It's the same thing as this threshold. So bring it down. You can manually see there's someone automating the volume automatically, and this is gain reduction. So so what you're gonna do, so you have attack and release. The attack is, say if I snap my fingers in front of your eyes, the sound, like me snapping my fingers and then you closing your eyes, is reaction time, right? So basically the attack is the reaction time. If I snap my fingers in front of your eyes, this is my own way of explaining it. No one explains it like this. So if I snap my fingers in front of your eyes, you blink, right? And you blink. The human reaction time is like 1/4 of a second. So I don't know. So the reaction time, think of attack as reaction time. Then you can hear that now. If it's super fast reaction time, the kick disappears, right? Because the helper, your studio helper, is turning the volume down so quickly, right? But if his reaction time is a little bit low, or is a little bit longer, like me snapping my fingers and then you waiting a second and then closing your eyes, you know, you got a problem with your mind. But if you increase the reaction time, if you decrease the reaction time, you get the transient of the kick. And this is why compressors are used. So now you have You have the click of the kick, but you still have the reduction. You can increase that too. Right? So you have that, and think of the release is how quickly after you close your eyes you open them again. So if we increase the release, you can see it goes down, and the more you increase it, like the more release you have, the slower it takes for the volume to come back up, right? So we have a, oh wait, that's attack. So we have attack, and we'll have a super long release. Look at how long that fucker takes. So that's a slow, like, down, and then you're up slowly. So what is the point of all of this? Oops. The point of all this is for overheads on drums. So if you have like a badass drummer, and you have the mics that hang down from the ceiling, they're called overheads. When he would hit the snare would muddy up the entire mix, and that would suck. So you'd want to have the slap of the snare, but then the snare has this elongated, like, after it, like a snare drum, you know? So what they would do is they would have an attack to get the slap of the snare, but then the afterwards would be quieter. And how the human ear works is the human ear can't pick up that well the difference between a loud sound and a quiet sound. So yeah, so basically you still get, so what this is doing on and off is you're losing some of the volume, but if you have a slight bit, it makes it seem more punchy. You know, that's a bad example, but for like snares and other kind of stuff, you're good to go. Now, makeup. Automatic makeup gain is why everything is so loud these days. So just review EQ, learn that, play around with it, up and down, see what it does. It molds the sound. The compressor, think threshold, see what it does, load in snare, see what it does. Attack and release, only focus on that. Ratio, don't worry about that. And kind of figure what it's doing. What it's doing is it's giving you more headroom. It's getting rid of the loud sounds, but it's kind of smoothing it all out. So what it's doing, if you go on my channel and you search compressor explain visually, I explain it kind of well that way, and it's positive. You should check it out. Now, makeup gain is a way to make something louder. So what you're doing is you're reducing the gain, automatically lowering the volume of it, right? But as he's doing that, he's lowering the volume and then boosting the volume kind of at the same time. And what that's doing is that's squishing the sound, and it's called automatic makeup gain. Makeup gain means automatic volume up. So it might seem like that won't do anything, but it does quite a bit. Right? So when you reduce the volume, it boosts the volume. And I explain it visually, and I explain it very well in another video. So just, focus on the compressor and EQ8. So what we're going to do is we're going to sidechain now. So sidechain, you're taking a signal not from the audio itself, you're taking it from another piece of audio. This sidechain and this channel is taking the audio input from this one. So what's actually happening is the kick is reducing the volume in this. So you get sidechain compression, right? And we'll see that now. So no input, so we go sidechain input 15, which is where the kick is. So no gain reduction. Now we have So there's no option for makeup gain because it won't work. So now we have sidechaining. So now we play them all together, everything has its own space. That could be done with a lot of sounds, that could be done with everything. And it's all centered around your kick. Okay? And I believe that should do it. That's more of a complicated version of effect. That's an introduction to EQing and a compressor and sidechain compressing. Compression and EQing is a very, very large subject. But if you have the basics down, basically it makes things louder, or it can make things punchier. But overusing it doesn't really work. So when you're using a compressor, focus on threshold, attack, release, reaction time, and how long it takes for you to open your eyes again, and the makeup gain. And experiment what that does. And if you want to know if the compressor is doing anything, look at this gain reduction. It'll tell you. And using a compressor on anything will increase its volume, but it'll squish it at the same time when you're using makeup gain. If you use no makeup gain, it'll give you more headroom at the end. And headroom is room in your audio. So you look at this waveform of this, and you say, oh, it's bouncing around a lot in terms of its volume, right? I want it to be more uniform, so it sounds kind of smoother. So what we'll do, I'll turn off that. We'll add another compressor in there. Turn off makeup gain. So what that's doing is it's kind of taming the peaks. So a compressor can be used on everything. Think of like a bass guitar. Say if you slap it like a really, really hard, like a loud slap on a bass. I'm not sure how you do that, but you slap it, the string, that'll be louder. But then if you're kind of, I don't know, what do you call it, doodling or whatever, it's not as loud. But what you want to do is smooth it out, and it's basically all it is it's someone next to you with a knob that controls the volume is just turning it, right? And it's just, attack, release, and makeup gain if you want. But yeah, so here we go. We have something that sounds a lot smoother. And that's your introduction to EQ and stuff. Take care. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me a like and a comment. Give me a comment if this sucks, but give me a comment if my